Now that you've already made a little book, what we're going to do is we're going to fill it in. And for this particular little book, we're going to fill it in with properties and operations from chapter 2. So first thing you need to do is go to your title page on your little book, and this is what your title page should look like. Make sure you put the title on it up here, chapter 2 properties. You can just leave it chapter 2 properties. Put your name down here. So if your name is Sally Mustang, please write Sally Mustang. And if you're not block 2, make sure you fill in your block. And then also put my name, Miss Jason, and the room number D125. That way, if your little book gets left on the floor, dropped in the cafeteria, hopefully it will get returned to me, and since your name is on it, I will know to give it to you next time I see you in class. So take a minute right now. If you need to pause the video, and fill out your title page. All right, turn the page, and for right now, let's just focus. Sorry about that. For right now, let's just focus on the first page. So I'm gonna ignore page 2. So you open the cover of your little book, and at the bottom of the first page, put page 1. At the top of that page, you're going to put the title of that page, which is the commutative property of addition. And what the commutative property of addition says is that you can add numbers in any order. And make sure you write down the words and the example here I have using variables, and then also write the example I have right here using the actual numbers. So go ahead, pause the video, get your page 1 of your little book filled out, and then restart the video. Okay, here's page 2 of your little book. So again, put page 2 at the bottom so that when we're talking about the little book in class, I can refer to the page number and we're all on the same page. This one at the top, put commutative property of multiplication. What the commutative property of multiplication says is that you can multiply numbers in any order. In other words, A times B is the same as B times A. Make sure you have the words written down. Make sure you have the variable example written down. And then make sure you have an actual example using numbers written down. Again, press pause to finish this page, and we'll go on to page 3. All right, here are pages 3 and 4, and I'm going to curtain this so we can just look at page 3 at the bottom of the page. Put the page number, put the title, associative property of addition. What this says is that you can change grouping if you have all addition. In other words, the quantity A plus B plus C is exactly the same as A plus the quantity B plus C. Make sure you have the words written down, the variable example, and the number example. And notice for this particular number example, we're using PEMDAS. The second line looks different because we're doing things in a different order, but the last line is the same. Okay, get this page filled out. Go ahead and press pause, and then we'll go on to page 4. Here's page 4. In page 4, we're talking about the associative property of multiplication. This is very similar to the associative property of addition. In this one, you can you can change grouping if you have all multiplication. In other words, the quantity A times B times C is equal to A times the quantity B times C. Here's an example down below. You can see the second line is different, again because we're doing things in a different order. Make sure you have the words written down, the variable example, and then the number example. Go ahead and press pause until you get this page fixed, and then we'll go on to page 5. Alright, here are pages 5 and 6. I'm going to curtain again so we can focus on just page 5. This is the identity property of addition. What the identity property says is that a number gets to keep its identity. In other words, the sum of a number and 0 is always that number. If you add a number to A, the number you add to A has to be 0 in order for A to keep its identity. So make sure you have the words written down, the variable example. And again, this can happen in either order. We can do A plus 0 is going to equal A, or 0 plus a equals a. Notice right here we've used the commutative property of addition because we've changed the order. And then also you can write down an example with a number. Go ahead, press pause to finish this page. All right, here's page 6. Multiplication also has an identity. The multiplicative identity is 1. In other words, if you multiply things by 1, they don't change their value. That's the identity property of multiplication. So the product of a number and 1 is that number. There's our variable example. 1 times a is going to equal a. And then if I apply the commutative property of multiplication, I can say that a times 1 is also a. Make sure you also have a number example with that. Go ahead, press pause. Okay, this is our very last page, the distributive property, and it's also the most complicated property that we're going to study in this section. The distributive property says that you can distribute multiplication over addition. In other words, if you have a times the quantity b plus c, you can say that's the same as taking a and multiplying it times b, and then taking a and multiplying it by c, which is what we get on the other side. All right. We can also use the commutative property of multiplication to change the order so that we have the quantity b plus c times a is equal to b times a plus c times a. We can also distribute over subtraction. So if you change the plus signs to minus signs here, you're going to get the same result. So here's an actual example. If we do 3 times the quantity 4 plus 7, PEMDAS, or order of operations, says we have to do the 4 plus 7 first, which gets us 11. And 3 times 11 is 33. Now if we use the distributive property and rewrite 3 times the quantity 4 plus 7, we can say, all right, we have to take the 3 and multiply it to the 4. That's going to give us 3 times 4. We also have to take the 3 and multiply it by the 7. That's going to give us 3 times 7. And what we end up with is 12 plus 21, which equals 33. And since the answers are the same, this is just one example that verifies the distributive property. All right, press pause if you need to finish this page. At this point, your little book should be completely filled in. Don't lose this. We're going to use this on tests and quizzes, and you're going to want it for your homework as well. You might want to punch a hole in it so that it's easy to put in your binder so that you don't lose it.